Okay. Take out my enemy. You did very well, Joyce. My voice isn't very good. It will get better, I'm sure. I think the first thing we should do is remember that while we sit in peace and you've got a good supper, we should remember people are dying. In Bosnia. I remember a few years ago there was a conference at a place called Camp David. You may remember Menachem Begin, the leader of the Jews, and Mr. Carter, who was the president, clasped their hands together with somebody else and declared that this was a period of peace from here to the end of the world. Mr. Bush told us that what we call desert war was over. The fact is that this very moment there are 35 places in the world where there's war. I have a few heroes. One of them is a young man that came to my office just a couple of months ago. He'd just come back from Bosnia, and he said it's the most terrible sight he ever saw. He'd been in Vietnam. He'd been in the Central States when the Sandinistas were fighting. But he said to go down the street in Bosnia was terrible. Here's the body of a young lady, and there's a head over there. There's a river of blood down Main Street. Children were starving. And the amazing thing is he's gone back again this week. He doesn't have any church behind him. He's a very wonderful individual. And there are others like this. So I'm going to ask that we just have quietly, all of us have a minute of prayer and pray for particularly for the Christians who are in Bosnia that are suffering so much. Everybody's suffering. Religion doesn't make any difference. Suffering comes to everybody, whether you're black or white or rich or poor. But we live in luxury. I don't know why we sing God Bless America. You know some women in India, you're in India. Women in India gathered cow dung today to bake a meal tomorrow. God bless America. Why? You have 2 ovens, or do you have 3? You have 2 cars, or do you have 3? You have 2 telephones, or do you have 3? Do you know how rich we are in America? We flush our toilets with drinking water. Did you ever think of that? What you put down the toilet every day would cost a stack of money. Oh, but I'm an American. You know, the greatest fear I have, I'm not afraid of death. I've been at death's door many times. I'm afraid that God will withdraw his spirit from America. He says, my spirit shall not always strive with man. I checked at Billy Graham's office, and they're pretty accurate there. I said, how many Bible schools are there in America? How many seminaries? Well, as you know, America and Canada are joined together. America and Canada have 450 Bible schools and 250 seminaries. Did Sodom have 1 Bible school? Did Gomorrah have a seminary? Now, if the children are going to the bathroom, let them all go. All go if you want. Don't break up the meeting. I'm afraid we don't treasure what we have. Some parts of the world don't have one page of this sacred book. We have 26 translations. My judgment on the Bible is this: it's either absolute or obsolete. You can't believe what you want, like David was saying. Believe this part, forget the other. Forget the dispensationalist. The Christ I serve is no older than he was 10,000 years ago. He lived before creation. He's the only potentate who lived before he was born, the only potentate who lived after he died. I like the emphasis David made on the throne. The British throne is in tatters just now. It's a mockery to the world. I go back again and again and again to Hebrews 1. Thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. Dave didn't dwell long enough on that this morning on worship. I'll spank you afterwards. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't give you live to be much older than I am. You'll never hear a better preaching than you heard this morning. People asked me about this conference months ago. I said, if you'll only come to one meeting, don't come Saturday night, come Friday night. David has a rare combination of being a teacher and a preacher at the same time. And today he reminded us about the throne in that wonderful 4th chapter of Revelation. What did he say? Who sits on the throne? Jesus. Who sits with him? The Virgin Mary? Forget it. The Catholic would suggest she does. You know, one day Jesus will not bow the knee to the Pope. The Pope will bow the knee to Jesus. Will the Virgin Mary sit on the throne with him? No. Who will? Those that what? Tell me. Overcomers. People say sometimes, oh, you know, I'm a survivor. I say, I'm not. I'm an overcomer. Surviving means you're going down for the 3rd time, somebody drags you by the hair and saves you. No, brother. I'm not living to celebrate eternal life up there. I've got it now. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Well, I listened very attentively this morning, and I'll listen to that message again when I get the tape, I'm sure. I often tell Martha, I say many days to her, darling, we're rich. After the meeting this morning, a man said to me, you trained your son very well. He's a good preacher. No, he isn't a good preacher. He's a great preacher. And his brother's great. And the mother's great. One of the largest hospitals in England. For 3 years she helped to do all the main surgery, everything, because she's skilled in that area. I don't have that genius. I have 2 boys, 2 of the best preachers in the world. The other one is one of the big chiefs at Smithsonian Museum, mixes with kings and princes and people, multimillionaire, and it never phases him at all. He's never lost what Kipling called a common touch. But you know, if you take a piece of metal and put it in a furnace, the first thing is the metal goes into the furnace. Then the furnace